welcome back to this week's video interview series. We're doing something different this time, and I think I'm going to make this a series itself. So this is Recruitment 101. And for those of you that are quite young, like one of my girls who said, "What is Room 101, Kerri-Ann?" I know, Mark. I daren't tell you which one it was. Recruitment 101 is going to be all the things that we dislike about recruitment. We are going to dump it into Room 101. And we'll have a little bit of a vote as we go, because I know traditionally, Mark, you can be, like I can, quite controversial, which I'm looking forward to. So, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Kerri-Ann Hargreaves, leader of H2 Consultancy, and this is Mark Hopkins. We connected on LinkedIn last year, I think. Didn't we, Mark? I think it was, or maybe
it was a while ago. Yeah,
a couple of years.
You
couple of years,
and I think it was mostly through. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Go.
My name is Mark. My name is Mark Hopkins, and that's why I drink. No. I run a business called Thomas Lee Recruitment that does engineering, manufacturing, recruitment, and I like social media, so I do quite a lot on social media. So I do a lot of videos and podcasts as well. So my job title starts growing. I start introducing myself, and I love doing stuff like this as well, and especially given an opportunity to rant about things. I'm here.
Absolutely, yes. And I think what I like about Mark, for anyone who doesn't know his business, is that we are very alike from how we push ourselves out there into the market, the way that we manage our client relationships, our candidate relationships, our viewpoint on lots of topics. When Mark puts something on LinkedIn, I know I'm going to like it, and I know I'm going to want to read it, and I think vice versa. And I first came across Mark because of my colleague Katie. They've engaged, and what I love about that is that collaborative nature. They both work in the same space, but they're not afraid to talk and like each other's content. And that's why I wanted to chat to you as well today, because I know that you and I share some similar viewpoints on recruitment. Dislikes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. So what were you going to say, though? You were going to say something then. I'm sure it would be interesting. Go on, shoot.
Yeah, it's Katie's fault that we know each other.
It is. Blame Katie. Yeah, it's all Katie's fault. And we also, in a good way, we share a couple of Facebook groups, don't we, for like recruitment leaders. And it's,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in similar things. Yeah, we have very similar thoughts, and whenever we put anything on LinkedIn, we seem to worryingly have the same kind of perspective on stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of worries me, actually.
Well, and I think it's like-minded people, isn't it? But we've both worked in the industry, so I'm nearly 15 years, and I think you're similar, aren't you, Mark? Longer?
16 years.
16 years. Longer. And we're actually the same age, which we've just realised.
Which we just found out.
Jumped into this. So hopefully we'll be both getting our vaccines sometime this year as well. Yes. And then we might be able to be back out there meeting people. Wouldn't that be nice?
Who are people? I don't know who people are. Everyone's on screens now.
They are, aren't they? We were talking about that in the office today, actually, that everybody is on a screen, and I'd quite like to actually just stand opposite someone.
But will we get like kind of like when you see a famous person, will we all be kind of like shocked to see a person in, you know what I mean? And they're shorter or small or larger or.
I think most people are larger, aren't they, because of the pandemic? I know I am.
I am, for sure.
I know I've definitely dunked a spoon. Yeah, you fringe alone. Yeah, I've definitely dunked one too many spoons in a jar of Nutella since the lockdown happened, since the pandemic happened. I've lost count on how many lockdowns we've had. Let's not discuss that, Mark. I think that's another Room 101, isn't it? Okay, but so let's get back to this. Otherwise, we'll carry on talking about other things. So let's kick off with what's upsetting you, Mark.
Oh my God, where do we start? There's so many things to start with, but I'm gonna go with the easy one. Should we go for the easy one? Which is whenever you get to speak to a client, and you ask them that question, am I the only agency on working this role? And then you find out there's about 40 other agencies working it. That upsets me.
That upsets me too. Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, I like a challenge, but 2 other agencies and we got it at the same time, that's a different challenge. But if there's 30 other agencies, or not as many as that, probably about 10 others normally, working on the same job, there is less of a chance of finding the right person, because we all know that we all kind of work in a very similar kind of pool, because there's only so many places now you can find good people, unless you're going to go down the headhunting route and physically really truly headhunt, not look on LinkedIn. That's not headhunting.
No,
I mean properly client map, find who the person is that does that job in the company, and then approach them in whatever methodology you can find. And LinkedIn might be one of the tools to do that, but that is not a cheap option in the grand scheme of things. And if there's 15 other companies out there, what's going to happen is that the agency is just going to whap an advert on there and just move on and find something that's going to make it money.
What I dislike about that process even more, when a business says, yes, I'm working with 10 other recruiters, or let's say 30 to be out there on this one, but is that they don't quite understand when you say, you realise that that's a negative. You realise that that's not going to go into your favour. They don't get it. They don't understand. And of course it's a negative, isn't it? Of course it's not going to go in their favour. How many of those 10 agencies are going to get bored as soon as they hit the wall of, I spoke to X recruiter about that last week. They're going to hit the wall and they're going to walk away.
Yeah. And it's happened, there was many moons ago, it's only happened the once though, from memory, where you speak to a candidate and they go, oh, hang on a second, I'm sure I've been put forward for that job. And you kind of walk away from it going, oh, all right, sorry, walk away from it. And then when you catch up with the client later on, you go, how is candidate X doing? Who's candidate X? Well, hang on a second, you haven't received candidate X? And because of the way the candidate's told you, I've already spoken about that job, or, I'd love to, I've already been put forward. Candidate X hasn't been put forward because that's happened several different times. So candidate X is missing out on that opportunity. And that's happened once, but I wonder how many other times in my career that's happened. There's too many people speaking to the same group of people.
Yeah, I am certain that's happened most occasions when you work that competitively, because agencies are approaching them, candidates are saying yes, but agencies sometimes do this thing, and this is perhaps another thing to go in Room 101, so we won't touch on it too much, but they do this thing called boxing off a candidate.
Oh, yeah.
That's another Room 101, where they box off a candidate and they don't even send them to the vacancy. And that's what makes the process you've just said even worse, because business, you don't even know this candidate's CV has gone to them or it hasn't gone to them. They don't get any feedback. The recruiter ignores them. And that's the whole other thing of millions of things that I want to put in Room 101.
Oh my God. Boxing off, just to touch on it, I've come across this methodology in companies I've worked for in the past as a taught kind of skill, like to teach people to do this, where you pick up a really good candidate and then you pick up 2 other good candidates, but you put forward 3 bad candidates to go with the 1 good candidate, but the other 2 good candidates you keep to one side. Yeah. And I understand what is there's what's it called? Someone called it. They actually gave it a name.
Oh, really? It's got a name?
Yeah, gold medalist or Rubicon or something like that. Where the podium candidate.
Really?
That's what it's called. So yeah, the candidate's on the podium, and then the other 2 ones are below it. And then when the client hiring manager reviews the CVs, thinks, well, these 2 they're all right, but this is the guy I want to interview. This is the guy I want to offer the job to. Whereas if you put all 3 together, then there's a choice.
Yeah.
What's wrong with a choice?
Exactly. What's wrong with we all want a choice. We all want a choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think then Room 101, are we throwing in the client working with 30 agencies? Yeah.
Yes. Multiple agencies. I know it's called contingency, but we'll come to that in a second. Yeah.
Yes, we will. We'll definitely come to that. And then are we also going to put into Room 101 boxing off candidates, or the podium, as you called it? I love that.
Podium candidates. Yeah, let's do it. Let's put it in.
Because it's bad practice. It's bad manners.
It is.
Where's the human approach to that?
There isn't any. And it's just trying to control your client. That's all it's doing. Trying to forcing candidates they know will make more money for them because they're a higher salary, or I mean, they're the better option in their eyes, but they're not really. Give them options.
No, they've got to have options, haven't they? Yeah, we are. We're here to give people choice, aren't we? Whether it's our candidate or our client, give them choice, give them options that are going to add value to their business. Right, okay. What else is on your list? What else is upsetting you, Mark? You've got a list.
Let's get this list going. Okay, so I'm just like you, because I've read some of your adverts in the past as well. Badly written job adverts. I'm not saying yours is bad, by the way. Before we list, whoa, no, I reckon you guys
step back from the mic. Step back from the mic.
Whoa. I hate badly written job ads.
Yeah, terrible.
I know we're not copywriters. Recruiters are not copywriters. Although if you do go on the Mitch Sullivan copywriting course, you do become a very good copywriter, in my humble opinion. But we're not copywriters. But at the end of the day, we have to use a lot of imagination into finding the right people, and we have to be. How can I put it? We've got to be at the top of our game. In order to attract the right people to the jobs, not only have we got to search and drudge through things and build networks and build friendships with random strangers we don't know, we've also got to be able to attract them.
Yeah.
And if we can't attract people to a job, then what are you really recruiting? And Mitch touches upon that. If you've just put in a job spec as an advert, you've learned nothing about that client. You're an order taker.
Absolutely.
So in order to write better adverts, you've got to understand your clients. And the best part about that is then you create a relationship with your client, and then you can be as imaginative as you want to attract that particular person. Thus, you know the client. Yeah. And I think that makes it a lot more fun for candidates that are applying for these jobs. But also, it shows that you know and understand what you're talking about at the same time.
Absolutely. For me, it's that introductory piece to an advert, that bit at the top. That's where I like to be creative.
That's the hard part.
And that's the hard bit. That's the bit I enjoy, because if I ever just see an advert that's one line, that's, our client is recruiting this, or a fantastic opportunity, I really dislike that opening line, because what's fantastic about it? Does it have a slide in the office, or what? Be a bit more specific. If we've got a really forward-thinking business, or we've got a really creative financial controller or MD or something, you've got to give them something, haven't you, to feel like.
Get rid of the subjective words and let's bring in what's reality. What is the real reason? Why is that company in business? What is it inside them that makes it a great place to work? And at the end of the day, all jobs are great. Most jobs, I would say nearly 90% of jobs are grey, boring jobs. And 10% of them are really great jobs. Yeah. But even with the grey, boring jobs, there's still going to be something great. Like it's got on-site parking, or which is, in the middle of a city, which is what everyone bloody needs, isn't it?
Everyone needs that, don't they? Yeah.
I know that's a very simple. I'm using that as a simplistic example, but maybe the company.
Yeah. So I was going to say I've got one too. So one of my clients has like a standard holiday package, is like 30 days holiday, even before bank holiday. Amazing. Everybody needs to know that, because like you and I, working parents, the more holidays you get, the easier it is to manage your life. Yeah.
Even like now that we're talking about, and I think it's going to change again. I don't know how long we're going to be working from home for, but even a simplistic thing like now working from home, people really want that. Now it's an option, and we know it can be achieved. Absolutely. Let's talk about it. Why are we talking about our company, our clients, this successful at, and come on, let's talk about the real part of the job. Why do you want people to work? What's the challenge? What's the real reason?
Yeah, even today I popped a post on LinkedIn, and I rarely advertise my jobs now on my profile, but I put on today that it was a brand new client that we're working with, to show how excited I am about bringing that business into H2, and that they've not been affected by the pandemic at all, that it's actually strengthened their business. I think people need to see that. They need to read it, because one thing we are seeing a little bit lately is that people are actually stepping back from moving at the moment. Maybe that's because of the childcare thing. Maybe that's because of homeschooling. I get it, So if there's a business out there supporting remote working, well, let's scream about it. Not that you know, this is your duties and responsibilities. We all need to see them, of course we do. Okay, so I think let's put that in room 101, because everybody should learn how to write an advert better. And my girls in the office here know I'm a wordsmith, and literally I am I dislike a lot of adverts, so I'm like you. Yeah, room 101, that's in the bin. What else are we putting? What else are we discussing?
So I don't know how to kind of put this together, really.
Just say it. Just say it, Mark.
Do you remember before we started the recording, we mentioned about people starting recruitment businesses without any knowledge of recruitment or business or running a business. I think I learned as I went along running a business, but luckily I had some mentors to kind of work with me and help me at the beginning. But the main part for me was that I knew how to pick up a phone, find business, and fill it.
Yes.
In my chosen sector, and that was because at the time I was 10 years in the recruitment industry. I'd ran teams, I had built desks from scratch several times in my career.
Yeah.
When I see on and hopefully people won't look too much into this, and not picking on anyone specifically that I see on certain groups that we're members of, but when I see people saying, "Oh, I've started my agency, how do I get my first client?" and you're kind of like, well, hang on now. What? Where was the SWOT analysis? Where was the plan? What do you mean? And I know people come forward whenever I mention this in public spheres and on LinkedIn and so forth, where I say, why do people do this? And people come forward going, no, I did that and it was successful. And I'm thinking, okay, great, well done. But for every one person that does it, I'm sure there's about 50 to 100 people that fail trying to do it.
Yeah.
Or possibly more. We never hear about them all, do we?
No, we don't. And I think it's obviously scary prospect. Like you, I've started a business. Like you, though, I have got a investor. Well, sorry, I don't know if it's not like you, but he's a mentor as well. So I've got an investor, I've got a mentor. He has supported me massively, especially through last year. I wouldn't have done it without him, because I don't think I would have had the confidence to actually run the business, if I'm honest.
But in order for you to get the investor, like I got an investor at the beginning, and I got the same group of people who were mentoring me as well. In order to get those people, you had to be at a certain level in your career for them to trust in what you're doing. And that's why it's a success.
I agree. So in my opinion, and I know you agree with this, you've got to be credible in your marketplace. That's my personal opinion. I feel like my clients, new people that we work with, they buy into me, they buy into Katie, they buy into what we offer here because we're credible in the marketplace. We can demonstrate our success over a very, consistent period of time. And I do worry about the people that just decide one day, I'm going to set up a business. We're not Thanos. We can't just change things. You can't, in my opinion, it's really tough. It's really hard to do it. So if you're going to set up a business and then ask a question to a group of professional recruiters, how do I win my first client? I think you need to take 3 steps back. Yeah.
In the fundamental scheme of things, the first part of kind of any business is, where's your customers coming from? Where I've always looked at businesses. Many years ago, I nearly bought into a cafe. Long story. I nearly bought into a cafe. I once ran a Tesco cafe for Tesco's when I was a student. I even got promoted to manager, which is even more crazier. Why? And I was, like part-time as well. And that was my own situation. And a friend of mine said, would you like to invest in it and come on board and help me run this place? And I'm like, wow, what an interesting thing. I don't know the first thing about running a cafe, and I'm sure I would have learned. But running a recruitment business, you don't open a door and say, hey, I'm open.
No, it doesn't.
Nothing comes.
Not unless you've been a very successful recruiter for a long time, where you can open the door and people come to you because they know you and they're excited for you in your journey. But to fall into recruitment and you've never worked in the sector before, whether it be internal or as a consultant, and you're stepping up, it baffles me. All hail to them. Good luck. I hope it works out. course.
And well done having the balls for doing it.
Yeah.
Well done. I mean, I'm all for all that. I'm pro kind of everyone doing something self-employed for at least once in their life to know if they can do it or not.
Yeah.
Just needs a lot more thought process and a lot more kind of idea, really, to what they're doing.
Yeah, so that's definitely room 101.
Get in.
Get in. Get in the bin. I'm loving this room 101. Thank you for joining me, Mark. So, okay, what's next? What's on that list? I've seen that list. It's very long. We might not be able to do it all today. What else?
I'll tell you what. I'll pick the highlights. I'll do the one that I think you and I are probably going to spend a lot of time talking about, which is retained recruitment.
Wow, that's a big topic. That's huge. Retained recruitment. Okay, so what don't you like about it, Mark?
What's starting to really bug me now about retained recruitment is it's starting to turn into a bit of a religion in our recruitment sector. I have zero
about a lot at the moment, isn't it?
Too much. Too much. Yeah.
Everything.
So 2 years ago, I picked up jobs from a very large company who were being retained by a large recruitment company at the time, who had failed to even submit one candidate in 6 months, but yet was able to receive somewhere in the region of 12 to 15,000 quid from this particular company for doing nothing. And they took them to court, and I think
don't blame them
as well. Yeah, I would take them to court as well. That year, I picked up probably 6, maybe 7 bits of work from failed retainers.
Really?
Which I started looking into. Yeah, it was really bad. I started looking into it. That was 2019. By about November, December 2019, I came to the conclusion, after speaking to a few people, which probably will watch this podcast, and discovering that people are selling retainers and not filling jobs, and their fill rate is very much near a contingency fill rate of about 25–30%.
Wow. So that's what I don't understand. So why would a client pay a retained fee and then have zero delivery? So this is the problem. Yeah, is that a lazy recruiter because the money's in the bank? I don't know what it is.
And I don't know what it is. And either recruiters, again, very, very good at selling retained, that it's almost become, how can I put it, like the next PPI or something. I don't know. And I don't know, because it's really deflated. It's really turning the market, especially in the engineering sector. I don't know if you guys have come across this in the engineering sector, but I come across retained being sold to specific things. And the delivery is very poor to zero.
Wow.
Whereas I come along exclusive, no guarantee that I'm going to fill it, but my fill rate is around about 92–93% at the moment. So that is similar to retain. Now people say, well, why don't you charge people for that? Methodology of payment to me is not important when your fill rate is in the 90s.
Yes, I would agree.
That's it's negligible. However, if I do have a client that I'm that close to where they trust me enough to pay me up front, then that turns into more of a lawyer solicitor kind of retention where they pay you monthly for your time. Do you know what I mean? So you're consistently filling X amount, but there's not enough jobs to do that. So there's always like, oh, don't you want to get paid up front and then you're not wasting your time? Well, I'm taking jobs on and assessing them and then realizing, right, that's a waste of my time, so I can't help them there, or I can offer this service, or this is not going to waste my time. I know I could fill that because I've got a track record of doing it in the past. Absolutely. And it's always done within, 4 to 6 weeks maximum. So I get the retained model, but what I don't get at the moment is why it's such a religion and why aren't people... It doesn't solve the problem of filling the job, by the way, retained.
No, it doesn't, does it?
If you can.
No, I agree with you. It doesn't solve the problem of filling the job. For me, the only way... So we do work on some retained assignments, predominantly it's contingent, but like you, 80% of those contingent assignments are exclusive and they get our full attention, and I think I would rather work in that model than a retained assignment that comes with the additional pressure potentially,
Yeah.
Because there is an additional pressure that comes with it. Whereas an exclusive partnership for me adds the same value, and I think it adds 100% the same value to my client. I don't believe they get a different level of service. Where I'm interested in retained, Mark, and you might agree, is when my client has above and beyond and requires more from me consistently, and probably takes more from that relationship. That's where I think retained should come in.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's where then you've proven a track record with that particular company, and it's now time to take the next level. But it only happens to the next level, not because you're filling 30, 40 grand a year roles where they go, right, there's something that's come up that's really important and I need a lot of your energy and time on this. This is what it is. How can we move forward? That's when I think you should start looking at that retained model. And once it's happened once, maybe twice with that one particular client, they may not look back and then start utilizing you more like that and start giving you the retention that you require because they trust you. I think we need to gain trust and honesty first from companies before we start selling.
Yeah, me too. I think it's incredibly important that you've got that honesty, that transparency, and that trust from each of your clients, and you've gained that loyalty from them before we perhaps move to retained. And I think there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that are going to disagree with that, because I see them all selling retained assignments at the moment. I'm interested in what you said though right at the beginning, where actually we don't hear from the people where retained hasn't worked. We only hear the success stories, and I think that's in life anyway, isn't it? That's general. But you don't hear where it's failed, and of course it can't always work, but
we know that in certain sectors there's going to be a limitation of candidates, and I've picked up roles and they've taken months to fill. One particular role I had on for a year before I found someone to look at it, but I didn't charge a retention at the beginning, and the client said, look, if you come across this guy, I know it's going to be a hard fill. In fact, I got a role on at the moment. We know it's going to take so long, but he's not recruiting till August, but I'm starting now. Do you know what I mean? To find that particular person. But what was my trail of thought then? Yeah, that was it. But we've got to understand that just giving someone some money doesn't suddenly get more candidates or get the right candidates. Giving someone money, all you've done is bought their time. And there's this kind of thing in recruitment where apparently our time is really precious, when really what we are is we're trying to find jobs to fill. We will fill the jobs we can fill, which is great because the companies can't fill them. But when we start going down buying our time, the reason you buy my time is for me to stop working with that company.
X, Y, and Z. Yes.
Yeah. That's when you buy my time. But at the moment, it's not. We're moving towards this. And sorry, I'm jumping around you. But the other thing about retained as well, if you change your business model to 100% retained, you actually reduce the amount of work you have in a year, believe it or not.
I can imagine. 100%.
How many companies, and you've got to be good at selling retained, so you've got to be good at selling something to someone that in the past they've just paid when they have a physical entity in front of them and they can take them and put them into a job. But now you haven't got that physical entity, but give me some money so I can go and find that physical entity. If you're selling that, brilliant, but you're wasting your talents if you're just selling that. I'm
kind of 50-50 here whether we put it in the bin or not. I'm not quite sure I'm ready to put it into Room 101. I think you are.
I'm 60-40, by the way. I think retained does work really well for the right grouping of people within recruitment. But for the vast majority of recruitment, I would say probably 90% of the recruitment industry doesn't work. And they should really focus upon getting more exclusivity from their clients first, rather than going down this hardcore, in my humble opinion, big boy recruitment. Retained is very kind of grown up recruitment, and it requires a lot of trust and a lot of relationship building, basically.
And I know, for example, there's a client that we recently supported. It was a new client to H2. It was at the back end of last year. They were recommended to us. So already came to me with a level of trust and a level of belief that we could support him because he'd been recommended. And maybe that was a time that I should have sold retained, but actually I wanted to prove my ability. I wanted him to see what we could deliver. And then in the event that we support them again, because their business is growing, I think that's where an opportunity to sell retained comes in. That's how I would prefer it to be. You know, my business will always be a split between retained business and contingent recruitment. And don't be wrong, I don't enjoy all elements of contingent recruitment. I think that's one that probably could be another discussion, because contingent recruitment, competing with various recruitment agencies, that's a bad model, in my opinion. Maybe competing with one is okay. I prefer exclusive business. I think we both buy in that, you know, we've got that buy into each other, haven't we, in each other's journey.
Yeah. But when you get to, is it exclusive or is it retained? All the difference then is methodology of payment. That's the only difference between them both. Whereas contingency, it's this is where the whole market needs to really think about the terminology we use regards to retained, exclusive, and contingency. Exclusive and retained are virtually the same thing, just methodology of payment is different. The retained apparently gets you more exclusivity, but you could do that with a good relationship. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But also, especially in our market, when you look at exclusivity, you are giving the client a little bit of carte blanche to say, if the best candidate comes along and it's not from you, at least I get an opportunity to have a little look at them. And if they're right, I can take them on at no cost. Whereas retained, if the best candidate comes along, I'm going to have to wait for you to deal with it, and it's going to cost me money. So we got to look at it from a cost-saving perspective for the client as well. And that, again, that builds trust, that builds a new relationship, and they like the fact that we're thinking of them in that sense. Contingency, as we said at the beginning of this, where you're on this contingency model of the client giving 30, 40, agencies the same job. That needs a lot more management. That needs a company that understands how agencies works. Most internal recruiters that work at agency get that, and they do pick a recruiter to deal with one specific genre within their company.
I think they do. Yeah. And I think the problem with contingent recruitment is it becomes a transaction. That's it.
Correct. It's horse trading. That's what it is. Horse trade. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good term. So for some recruitment businesses, it literally is a transaction. It's not a process. There's no human involved. It's not interactive. It's not value added. And this is the difference.
And then how much of your business, my business, is contingency? And sadly, is the lion's share of our profits comes from the contingency model. Is it a bad model then? When you think about it.
That's it.
And then when you compare it...
I think if it's managed correctly, I don't think it is a bad model. I think if it's just, it's got to be managed correctly, and it's got to be a benefit to both parties. The pros and cons of it versus retained,
I get it. I get why. And that's why I think, I'm 60-40 on this. I get why it's a great model. But like I say, 90% of the industry shouldn't be going near it at the moment. They should look at exclusivity and get ourselves at the right level with our clients.
That said, I still don't think I'm ready to put it in room 101.
Damn it, Kerri-Ann.
Can't agree with you on everything.
I know. It's fine.
I think that's where we should end this one. And maybe what we need to do is come back in 3 months' time and recover it. And
especially after the internet realising I hate retained.
You've just sold yourself against retained. Which, again, we've got to do it for ourselves, haven't we? We've got to make it work for each other. So I think we come back in 3 months and see how we feel about retained and decide then if we put it in room 101. I can't commit today. I'm not prepared to commit to that today, but I am prepared to come back and commit to a second round where we discuss that again and then some other points, because I feel like you and I could discuss this, and we've got many topics that we could break it down into for days, definitely. So that's it. So I'm going to thank Mark for his time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It's been a laugh, and neither of us swore, which is unusual for a conversation between Mark and I. So well done, Mark. Well done.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for joining us. That was our first in a brand new series of Recruitment 101.